Lake Garda, northern Italy. A private villa terrace overlooking the water. 9:40 p.m., mid-July. The table was set for two under strings of warm fairy lights. White linen, chilled Franciacorta in tall flutes, a single orchid in a slim vase. The lake below was ink-black and still, reflecting the last smear of sunset like spilled blood on glass. A light breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the garden and the faint diesel hum of a distant ferry. Alessia wore the emerald dress he'd bought her in Milan, sleeveless, silk that caught every flicker of candle flame. Her hair was loose, dark waves brushing bare shoulders. Across from her sat Lorenzo, sleeves rolled to the elbows, the top button of his shirt undone. He looked relaxed, too relaxed. They had been lovers for 14 months, secret at first. He was married, she was the junior curator at the Brescia Art Foundation, where his company sponsored exhibitions. Then reckless, then almost domestic. Tonight was supposed to be their anniversary, the night he first said "Ti amo" in the back of a taxi on Via Monte Napoleone. He raised his glass. "To us," he said, voice soft, "to finally being free of excuses." Alessia smiled, small and perfect. She touched her glass to his, but didn't drink. "You brought the papers?" she asked. Lorenzo reached inside his jacket, produced a slim leather folder. Divorce agreement, already signed. His wife would keep the house in Verona and the children's school fees. He would keep the company shares and the lake villa. Clean, expensive, final. He slid it across the table. "Your turn," he said. Alessia opened her small clutch, black crocodile, a gift from him last Christmas. She withdrew an envelope. Inside, photographs. Grainy, taken with a long lens. Lorenzo in a hotel room in Zurich with a woman who was not his wife and definitely not Alessia. The woman was laughing, head thrown back, his hand on her thigh. Time-stamped 3 weeks ago. Alessia laid the photos face up between the breadsticks and the burrata. Lorenzo's smile froze, then slowly thawed into something colder. "You had me followed," he said, not a question. "I had someone watch," she corrected. "You taught me to never trust a man who says, 'This time it's different.'" Silence stretched. The lake lapped softly at the stone steps below. He leaned back, fingers drumming once on the table. "So what now?" he asked. "Blackmail? You want money? The villa? Half the company?" Alessia finally sipped her wine. The bubbles felt sharp against her tongue. "I want what you promised. Freedom for both of us." She reached into the clutch again. This time she brought out a small glass vial, no label, clear liquid, and a syringe already drawn. Lorenzo's eyes flicked to it, then back to her face. "Insulin," she said calmly. "Your wife's. I took it from her medicine cabinet last month when I visited the house as your colleague. You told me she's diabetic, easy to overdose, easy to mistake for a heart attack after too much wine and rich food." He laughed once, short, disbelieving. "You're serious. You said you'd leave her. You didn't. You said you loved me. You don't. You said tonight would be different." She tilted her head. "It will be." She uncapped the syringe with a soft click. Lorenzo stood abruptly.
The chair scraped back. He glanced toward the villa doors, locked from the inside the way he always insisted when they were alone here. "You won't do it," he said. "You love me." "I did," she answered, past tense. She rose too, graceful, unhurried. The emerald dress shimmered as she stepped around the table. He backed up until his hips hit the stone balustrade. Below, 15 meters of empty air to the water. Alessia closed the distance. She pressed the needle against the side of his neck, just under the jaw, not piercing yet, just resting. "One push," she whispered. "You'll feel dizzy, then nothing. They'll find you in the lake tomorrow. Tragic accident, too much wine, slipped. Everyone will say how sad it was. Successful man, beautiful life, gone too soon." Lorenzo's breathing was shallow. "The photos," he tried, "they'll know. They'll know you were unfaithful, not that I killed you." She smiled again, the same small, perfect smile. "I'm the grieving lover, the one you were finally going to choose." His hand moved, fast, grabbing her wrist. The syringe jerked, a bead of liquid welled at the tip. For a second they stood locked like that, two statues on the terrace. Then Alessia leaned in, lips almost brushing his ear. "You taught me one more thing," she murmured. "Never bring a knife or a needle to a fight unless you're ready to use it." She pushed. The needle slid in clean. Lorenzo gasped, eyes widening. His grip loosened. She stepped back as he slid down the balustrade, legs folding, head lolling. She watched clinically as the tremors started, then stopped. When he was still, she retrieved the syringe, wiped it on his shirt tail, and dropped it into the lake. The vial followed. She gathered the photos, the divorce papers, her clutch, left the wine glasses, the food, the orchid. She walked through the villa, turned off the fairy lights, locked the front door behind her. By the time she reached the car parked on the upper road, the moon had risen, silver across the water. No boats, no witnesses. Alessia started the engine, pulled onto the lakeside road, and drove south toward Brescia. In the rearview mirror, the villa lights were already dark. Tomorrow the police would call it an accident. Tomorrow she would cry on cue at the funeral. Tomorrow she would be free, exactly as he had promised. Lake Garda, Villa de Cipressi, Desenzano del Garda, 7:22 a.m. the next day. The call came in as a wellness check. Neighbor noticed the lights off all night. No movement, unusual for Lorenzo, who always opened the shutters at dawn to let in the lake view. The first Carabinieri patrol arrived at 7:05, found the front door locked, no signs of forced entry. They circled the property, spotted the body floating face down near the stone steps, arms drifting like pale weeds. Commissario Luca Moretti arrived at 8:40, same wool coat from the previous case, now smelling faintly of espresso and cigarette smoke. The scene was already taped off, divers in the water retrieving what they could. A coroner's van idled on the upper road. Dottoressa Elena Riva was already kneeling at the edge of the water, gloved hands turning the body carefully onto a tarp laid on the grass. "Blunt trauma absent," she said without preamble. "No defensive wounds, no ligature marks, pupils fixed and dilated, hypostasis on the back and buttocks, consistent with him being supine for several hours post-mortem. But the interesting part is here." She lifted the damp shirt collar. Tiny puncture mark, almost invisible, just below the angle of the jaw on the right side. A single drop of dried blood, no more than a pinprick. "Needle," Moretti said immediately. "Almost certainly. Toxicology will confirm, but I'd bet on insulin or potassium chloride. Rapid, quiet, mimics cardiac arrest, especially after wine and food. The ME in Brescia will run the full panel, but preliminary cause, homicide by injection, staged as accidental drowning." Moretti walked the terrace, table still set, 2 glasses half full, burrata uneaten, orchid wilting, fairy lights dead. He crouched beside Lorenzo's chair. Wallet in his pocket, phone too. Last call 21:15 to a number in Brescia. No answer. Text at 21:32 to the same number. "Sono qui. Dove sei? Ti aspetto." "I'm here. Where are you? Waiting for you." Sent from Lorenzo's phone.
Moretti looked at Elena. Girlfriend? Or someone he was expecting? She pointed to the second glass. Lipstick on the rim. Deep red. Not his shade. Will swab for DNA. A technician approached with a tablet. CCTV from the private road gate. One vehicle entered at 20:45, a dark Fiat 500, black or navy, plates obscured, probably mud or deliberate. Exited at 22:18, same car, driver not visible, headlights on high, face turned away. Moretti stared at the lake. No struggle, no forced entry. He let her in. They ate, drank, talked, then she did it. Cleaned up after herself, no syringe, no vial, left the romantic scene intact. Smart. He turned to the maresciallo in charge. ID the Fiat through traffic cams between here and Brescia. Check Lorenzo's known associates, especially women under 40. Pull his phone records, WhatsApp, Signal, everything, and get me the name of whoever that Brescia number belongs to. Elena stood, stripping gloves. Time of death between 22 and 23:30. She had time to walk out, drive away, be home before midnight. Alibi city. Moretti looked at the body one last time. Lorenzo's face pale, mouth slightly open as if still mid-sentence. Find the woman with the red lipstick. She's not hiding. She's grieving publicly by now.